Well, my idea in this like brief moment with all of you is like to share a little bit about the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative, and especially about Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action. And I was not sure if all of you there in the room were like super familiar with it or not. So I will make just a brief introduction about both CNI and the Catholic Nonviolent Days of Action. And I will let also some time. So if anyone has some questions or comments or suggestions, and that despite this distance, I hope we can have somehow like an encounter and a conversation. So I will also try to see if technology works, and I will try to share my screen if that is possible.
Yep, it's fine.
Okay. Well, maybe many of you already know the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative. Well, it's a program of Pax Christi International that it was officially launched in 2016, although its history comes from years before. But this official launch, or this official born, was from a historic conference in Rome held in April 2016. That conference was co-sponsored by Pax Christi International and the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, and it brought together participants from over 30 countries to the Vatican. And well, the attendees included bishops, scholars, grassroots leaders, religious congregation who gathered there to explore, a renewed Catholic understanding of nonviolence. But this experience came from all Pax Christi all over the world working on active nonviolence for a long time at the grassroots level. The outcome from that conference was a document titled An Appeal to the Catholic Church to Recommit to the Centrality of Gospel Nonviolence. And this appeal urged a shift toward a framework of active nonviolence as a way of life and a strategy for change. It invited the entire church to reclaim its mission as a nonviolent community grounded in the gospel. And from there, Catholic Nonviolence Initiative was born, and as you can see on the screen, if let me just 1 second. Yeah, you can see there which has been our goals since the very beginning and still are, like to make nonviolence central to the Catholic life and cross-cutting in the Catholic social teaching. Also that the Church, broadly understood, regularly applies a nonviolence-centered framework and well-developed nonviolent strategies to contemporary reality, and that the Church structures teach and promote nonviolence to educate and mobilize Catholics. So these are our 3 main goals at CNI. This is our work, our commitment, like to move the Church, not thinking only, of course, on the structures or the hierarchy, but all of us as people of God to move ourselves and building. Is everything okay? All right.
Yep, it's fine.
Okay. And so make gospel nonviolence, present in our lives. Many times when we think about nonviolence, people listen or understand different things. So as Marie was introducing me, my own experience with nonviolence comes from, from trying to bridge different worlds, the grassroots action, the academy, the research made on nonviolence, on conflict resolution, on mediation, bridging also like the everyday activities of nonviolence, working with, for example, with families, and also working with at the macro level, like trying to move institutions and organizations. This is my own background, and probably the way I also understand and live nonviolence. It's something that it's cross-cutting, that goes from, as I was saying, like from daily life, our more personal and family life, to the more social, political, structural. Because when we talk about violence, people unfortunately suffer very different kinds of violence in their lives, for the most close ones at family level to the more like structural. And I wanted to mention this way because we know that violence has a very deep, like domestic roots, and people suffer different types of violence in their lives, and working on nonviolence teaches us that there is not more important places one than others, like to work with the families, the communities, the neighbors, or working at the macro level. Both worlds fit each other. That is why I share with you this design, this graphic. When we talk about nonviolence, we at CNI we want to talk about spirituality, a way of life, but also a method for change and a potential universal ethic. For all of us, nonviolence is the power of love in action. So it's very connected with our own faith and spirituality. It's a way of living, but it's also a very effective method for transformation at the personal level, but also for social change. And fortunately, we do have the tools, the strategies, the research to know how to do it effectively, to know how to organize it in the best way possible. And grassroots activists have learned in different parts of the world how to do it. They have failed and have success. So we have learned along history how to do it in the best way possible. And people who have, and that's also my own experience, people who have the opportunity to know these tools, these strategies, and to be training on them, and they experience a huge change, both at the personal level and on their own communities. And from all the work of CNI, of the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative, this gathering today, this workshop is focused on what we call the Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action. That are some specific days where we promote and celebrate nonviolence. It's an opportunity to show the world, to show the Catholic Church, to show ourselves how our faith turns into action. It's an opportunity to build bridges, to build community. And I love to say that nonviolence offers the tools and the strategies to organize hope among people. The Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action are celebrated between the 21st of September, it's the International Day of Peace, till the 2nd of October, the International Day of Nonviolence, that is the Gandhi's birthday. And during these days, we encourage people worldwide to come together to promote and celebrate nonviolence. And along the different years, we have been encouraging people all over the world, different communities from, and probably many of you have also been part of this, and to organize different activities, events, prayer vigils, educational activities, advocacy campaigns, so that we are able to show nonviolence, and at the same time that we are able to share our own solidarity with people who are in very difficult situations. And it's also an opportunity to show how nonviolence works at very different levels. And there is no small action, and every action during the Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action counts. And so I always try to encourage people to organize anything they consider that it's important for them, for their community, for their family, for their neighborhood, no matter how big or how small it is, because it's important that everyone who is organizing one activity, it's also a witness of gospel nonviolence who inspires others to follow the path. This year, in every year we choose a theme for the Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action. This year, we have decided to the theme for 2025 will be building bridges for a nonviolent tomorrow. So as we wanted to connect it with the 80th anniversary of Pax Christi. And I imagine that all of you have received today the message from Pope Leo greeting Pax Christi USA for this wonderful conference, and encouraging us to go on working on nonviolence. So we want to do that as a celebration during the Catholic Nonviolent Days of Action. Especially since last year, Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action, thanks to Campaign Nonviolence of Pace Bene, we are working together, and thanks to the help of Campaign Nonviolence, we are able to gather all the events, activities that Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action organize, and announce them or be part of the database of Campaign Nonviolence. So this year, we can use the database of Campaign Nonviolence to register and be part of Campaign Nonviolent Action Days. I can show you, for example, from last year, different activities that were organized, for example, for Pax Christi New York, or by Pax Christi Rhode Island, or by our like CNI at the global level. And this is these three events you see there are it's a picture from the database of campaign nonviolence. We also organize and develop a dossier with material, resources. It's like a small toolkit for people and organizations who want to organize events during these days. So in the aim of helping to that and maybe giving some ideas or inspiring them, we prepare a dossier, and we announce it, we publish it on the website, and also we send it as a PDF, so you can find them different materials, different ideas. We share there also the topic for this year with different reflections, also with quotes to use, examples of other people and other organizations doing things. And we think it's quite it can be useful. It's not a closed guide. It's more an it's a, as I say, it's a dossier to inspire and to encourage people to organize events and activities during these days. And the kind of events, as I say, they are very diverse. And we have, for example, in Miriam College in the Philippines, organized a lot of educational activities with children at the school. And other people organize, for example, art actions. Others organize marches, pilgrimages, vigil prayers, and some of them organize also, for example, specific trainings on those days on nonviolence. Other ones are able to have more, they focus on a specific campaign, for example, of protection of some population at their own local level. There are groups that organize interfaith gatherings, many different ways of promoting, celebrating, and building non-violence during these days. This year, we also are trying to encourage and to improve our communication, and so we are also trying to make every action more visible at the global level, let's say. And we are launching a campaign for people who want to become Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action animator. We will launch in the following days on social media and a registration form online that people who want to be a Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action animator can register and can share with us like what they want to, how they want to collaborate, mainly. If they want, for example, to organize an event, or if they are more on that they want to spread gospel nonviolence, or to spread specifically the actions of others, or be part of that, or work on specifically on producing, for example, communication material like short videos, podcasts, etc. And you will have this available on CNI social media, and also we will announce it on the website. And I encourage all of you to join, to become an animator during these days, and to encourage others to be part of that. From CNI and from my side, I also wanted to share with you that we are, of course, very worried about your own situation in the States. So we want you to feel that you belong to a global community, that you can ask for support, for help, for solidarity. And so that's why we also are trying to encourage as much as possible nonviolent action in the States, and be part of all the nonviolent campaigns that others are also so wonderfully organizing. We have been with Pax Bene also part of the Rise and Sing campaign, and we would like to go on, partnership with other organizations, and I would like that people don't feel alone, that they feel supportive, not only from like inside your own country, but internationally. I think this is key, because the crisis of democracy, it's global, and it's something that we are also experiencing here in Europe. So it's a specific time that we need more than ever to be together, to work together, to build bridges, and to spread the nonviolence, to build a nonviolent future.
Thank you, Nicolás. Thank you so much, Nicolás. We'll turn it over to Rosie soon, but before Nicolás leaves us, are there any questions or thoughts or reactions that you'd like to share? Yes.
I appreciate the specifics that are available to help us work on this issue in our parishes. I was not familiar with the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative, or the particular times of the year that specific programs might be targeted. So I really do appreciate having that concrete information available to go back to the parish with now, and have time to plan something in accord with that process for that September, October timeframe. And I also appreciate your words of comfort and concern for those of us in the U.S. at this particular time in political history.
Thank you. Could you hear that, Nicolás? Could you hear?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could hear. Yeah, thanks a lot. I think that's key. We also think working at the parish level, at the diocese level, it's key. So please, keep in contact, follow our social media to know about this dossier that maybe can inspire you. And of course, we are, if you need me, if you need myself, just contact me.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Yes.
Nicolás, I'm a member of the Meta Peace team that does active nonviolence, direct intervention and de-escalating potentially violent situations. To what extent are groups like that involved in the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative? And in terms of your solidarity with us, I express solidarity with you and the people of Spain, point of view on Palestine.
Did you hear that?
What about?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially those of you who have a lot of experience on active nonviolence, I think it's so good if you are able to to be in contact and to share your experience. What we okay, I can share, for example, our latest experience. We have just launched an online training. In this case, mainly for Latin America on active nonviolence from Catholic Nonviolence Initiative. The amount of people who has registered so that they are interested in it in just 2 days, it's almost 100 people. And what we find there is that we have like very different levels of people, like of knowledge. We have people who will be their first experience on nonviolence and people who have a lot of experience. We need to build that community, to connect people, to share that knowledge. I think that's key, because my own experience, as I said at the beginning, is that when people learn the techniques, the tools, the strategies, it really makes a difference, even at their very, personal, familiar level, because it works.
Yeah.
And just a little footnote to that, the other way that we're connecting with Meta Peace Team and DC Peace Team and Pace Bene and International Center on Nonviolent Conflict and other centers around the world that are both sending teams into different places for accompaniment and doing trainings, is that we are encouraging, because the role of the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative is to try to move the Catholic Church, to promote, to educate, to center nonviolence. What we are also doing is encouraging Catholic universities, Catholic parishes, religious congregations, dioceses to commit to doing trainings, to create, as Elaine McCarthy can share a lot more about it, to create training hubs. And then we will be referring people who contact us out of interest to centers, peace teams, training centers in different languages in different parts of the world. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to connect with what is already happening around the world. And we're trying to figure out sort of the best way to do that. So we'll do some, I think the kind of program that Nicolás just talked about that we just launched, we'll tend to do more things like that, which are sort of focused on gospel nonviolence, a little longer, and then turn to others to do the peace team organizing and the training. But we hope to be really working together.
Just one thing to add to that. In fact, what Marie is saying is that, and that's what we do, we promote what others do so well. In our own course, it's just something introductory. So we lead people and we encourage people to go on other trainings that other people like DC Peace Team are doing, for example, so good.
Something that would be very helpful to us is if you are part of like the Meta Peace Team or the DC Peace Team and others, if you encounter programs sending accompaniment delegations or doing trainings in other languages that you think are particularly good, it would be really helpful for us to know about that. We do know many. We know them in Spanish, we know them in French, but there are a lot of languages in the world. So if you come across others. Yeah, well, so a kind of One resource that you might find useful about Leo is our colleague Ken Budigan, who works with Pace Bene also, he did this for Pope Francis, and he started doing it the day Pope Leo was elected. He has collected every word that Pope Leo has said about peace, armed and disarmed and disarming, every word that he said about nonviolence, and he's collecting them into a Google Doc that we're happy to have you have a contact with if you're interested. We're really encouraged by what he said, not only that it was very nice that the first sentence out of his mouth was about peace, but it was also even more encouraging that within a very short time, he talked about nonviolence, and he talked about nonviolence in a pretty interesting way. The importance of young children having the example of adults who know how to be nonviolent, the importance of having parishes teach nonviolence. So we think we are very excited, and we actually do have an audience with Pope Leo in October for a very it's really for a very small group of like 5 or 6 people to talk with him about the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative and the Institute as a resource to try to move the Catholic Church to be teaching us all about this. So we'll see where that goes. But we've also have been meeting with, for example, Nicolás and I had a really good meeting with the Dicastery for Culture and Education. We're talking about how do we get to the seminaries? How do we talk about early education? So your suggestions about that, what that should look like, what programs are really good that are out there. And of course, we weren't saying this a lot in the last 9 years, but you probably know we have been asking for an encyclical on nonviolence for 10 years. So if you talk to any of Pope Leo's friends, tell them we're still asking. Nicolás, do you want to say a few words before we move on to Rosie?
Well, yes, thanks a lot for listening to me, for all your questions and suggestions. Please keep in contact with CNI, and yeah, it has been really a pleasure. I say hello to Eli, that I know that Mary has mentioned him. So hi, Eli. I'm glad to see that you are there also. And now I think you are going to enjoy the best part of this workshop with Rosie. So enjoy a lot, and yeah, and become a Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action animator and encourage others to be.
Thank you, Nicolás.
All the best. Enjoy a lot the conference.
And so Nicolás already gave us this amazing introduction to Catholic Nonviolence Initiative and also some to Pace Bene. So one of our main things that we're trying to do is build this culture of nonviolence. So what does nonviolence look like as a way of life and as systemic change, as a spirituality? That's one thing that I'm really passionate about. So we work specifically on the intersections of racism, war, taking care of the environment. We're trying to end violence very broadly, but then also in specific issues. So Campaign Nonviolence Action Days. I'm so glad that Nicolás was here to talk about it. For over 12 years, we've been organizing these actions that take place every fall. And so last year we had over 80,000 people come together and all over the world and take actions for nonviolence. So there were over 5,200 distinct actions for nonviolence. So this is kind of great because I'm from rural Kentucky. There was an action where I was in rural Kentucky. So you can look up where you're at and get connected with us. And then there's probably an action happening near you. So anyway, I want to kind of pivot a little bit and talk about my art. I got contacted a couple of years ago. Here, I'll clarify one more time with the little cup. You're gonna take a little slip of paper and then you're gonna write down one word that you associate with nonviolence. Put it back in the cup. No, keep it with you. Keep it with you. If it doesn't happen, it's fine. We're very flexible. We're all just having fun. So anyway, so a couple of years ago, my colleague Rivera, she came to me. Does anybody here know Rivera's son?
Yes.
Okay, yay, I'm glad. So she came to me and she said, Rosie, we've got to make some art that shows people the broad scope of nonviolence, okay? Because, you know, people think that it's just like nonviolence isn't killing people or something like that. And she said, and it's very multifaceted. So she came to me and she said, hey, can we do this poster series? And I said, yes, absolutely. And so we created these posters on the right side of the room. For those of y'all who are close, I invite y'all to just stay seated. But in a minute, anybody, in a few minutes, I'll let you know when. Anybody who's kind of sitting far away will go a little closer at posters on the right side of the room. And so we wanted to show people the power of nonviolence and how broad it is and how many things it intersects with. So we've got a various amount of nonviolent struggles, anything from mutual aid to helping immigrants to working against war on this right side of the wall. I don't have every single issue that relates to nonviolence. We're still making posters. If you have an issue that we really care about that you don't see represented, let me know. Maybe we could make a poster about it. So as you look at this wall, I want you to think, okay, what issue or issues am I really drawn to in these posters on the right side? What moves you? What breaks your heart? What kind of world might you want to see? Maybe these are issues that you've worked in the past. You know, maybe like you've worked a lot for housing justice. Maybe you're a teacher, you've worked in schools. Or maybe this is something new that you'd like to engage with. Maybe you're like, wow, you know, I've never done restorative justice work, but I'd like to start. So kind of pay attention to what is drawing you in. So now I'm going to invite the tables that are sitting the farthest away, so these two, to just kind of come up and get closer. You can come with me just so that we can see these better. So, yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, so you can just make note of in your mind what right here is drawing you in, what issue is drawing you in. Now, if your issue isn't represented, that's fine. We're going to work with the issue that's not represented. So I'm just going to like give you a minute. If anybody back here can't see, feel free to get up and come on over. Okay. Yeah, we're just kind of stretching, wiggling it up. Okay. So now I'm going to direct you to this side of the room. Okay. This side of the room is where we have different actions that relate to nonviolence. Again, this isn't every type of action. We have way more than this. But we've got everything from like divestment campaigns. You know, what is our money going to encampments, to marches, to peace teams, strikes, mutual aid, racial healing circles. Again, not every type of nonviolent action, not even close, is represented here. But I want you to kind of engage with these both sides of the wall. First off, what issue kind of grabs you or issues? And then secondly, what kind of action do you feel drawn to take? And if the action that you feel drawn to take or the issue that you feel attracted to is not represented here, that's fine. We're still going to make this work. Okay, so if everybody's kind of had a chance to look at these, I'm going to invite you to sit back down, and then we're going to work with what's on the tables. Thank you for coming along with me on this. And you can get up during the art exercise and look at these posters some more. Okay, so my first question is, did everybody get a little slip of paper from the cup and write down their word? Great, okay. So now I'm gonna lead you through an art activity. Please don't be intimidated. This is gonna be fun. I was talking with Corey Lockhart. She's got an exhibit table down there. So if you haven't met her, go talk to Corey. She's an amazing artist. And I said, Corey, like, I want to introduce people to this art activity. And she said, as children of God, the Creator, it's in our birthright to create. And we're just gonna play. And so that's my message to you from Corey. It's in our birthright to create, and we're just gonna play. Isn't that cool? Okay, so please go talk with Corey if you haven't already. So I'm gonna pass around 3 pieces of art that are gonna illustrate sort of what we're gonna create to some extent. Okay.
You're just gonna play.
Yep, just play, no worries. So anyway, everybody should see on their table several things. Everyone should have 2 cards like this, 2 small white cards. Does everybody have them, or is anybody missing some?
There we go, I got it.
Everybody's got them? If you don't have one, raise your hand, okay? If you do not have one, raise your hand.
All of those, no, I do not.
Do you have one?
There's
There
2.
you go. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So everybody has 2 cards. Then you should all also have on your tables these stickers. I support nonviolence. These are for you. Take them with you. These are made by Campaign Nonviolence. You can connect with us on our website at the bottom of the stickers. Okay. Everybody should also have these like colorful squares of paper. These are for you to cut out. And then everyone will have at least 1 or 2 of these little things that say phrases of nonviolence on them.
Say it was again.
Just phrases of nonviolence. And then finally, most everybody should have on their table some images of like peace. I printed out some of my favorite images that relate to nonviolence and peace. Some of my favorite peace heroes. So maybe you'll see somebody on there that you love too, and you can use it as a part of your collage. So we're all going to make collages to kind of be. Okay, you with me? We're all going to make some collages to kind of commit us, okay, to Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action. So I'm going to send around 3 that I made. These are my commitments, okay? I'll explain what I did. Can everybody basically see this? I know it's small.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna pass it around, but I'm gonna explain it to you first. Here's my word that I associate with nonviolence. It's bold. I drew a little picture of Cesar Chavez. He's one of my heroes. And then I took one of the phrases, "A nonviolent world is possible," pasted it all on this piece of paper, and then I wrote on the back, "In the spirit of Cesar Chavez, I will boycott Target and other companies against DEI." So that's going to be one of my actions for Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action. Okay, so there's one. Another one, has anybody heard of Liz McAllister? Yeah. So Liz is one of my friends, so I wrote down strength, that reminded me of Liz, and holy resistance. And then I have a picture of Liz, and then on the back, I put, "In the spirit of Liz McAllister, I will protest at the Pentagon with the Dorothy Day Catholic Worker." So that's an action that I'm going to take. So I'll pass this one around. Okay, and then finally, the main reason that I'm in this work is because of my great-great-grandfather Alberto. He was a nonviolent resistor in Mexico, and he was killed for his nonviolent resistance.
Wow.
So I drew his watch, which was like his one possession that he gave his family, and I put, "Profits still rise, the time for peace is now." So, and then I put on the back, in the spirit of Alberto, I will fast for children and the people in Gaza for 2 days during the Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action. So there's one final one. So I want you all to think of, what action would you like to take? You know, we've got a myriad of actions. We've got ones that aren't even represented here. Please talk with people at your tables and ask them about nonviolent actions that they might take. Because there might be one, you know, that you haven't thought of, that I haven't thought of. And so I want you all to just kind of make your collages. You can make, if you can make 2 for me, that would be amazing. And I'm going to explain why. Okay? On your tables, there is this letter. This is a letter that we would like you, oh, if y'all don't have it, I'll bring you some. Sorry. So there's a letter that you can send to maybe your parish priest, maybe your bishop, telling them about the Catholic Nonviolence Initiative. So we can send those around as well. So if you can create one piece, maybe to include with that letter, that would be amazing. And then you can make one piece that's your own commitment that you can keep for yourself. Okay, I'm about to turn you loose. Any questions? Don't split it. This is just a play. We're all artists. I get people who come to me all the time and they say, I'm not an artist, I'm not an artist. I'm like, yes, you are, relax. So, okay, any final questions? Yes.
When, again, are the Catholic Nonviolent Days of Action?
September 21st.
October.
But in the fall, and it'll be here. No, we don't need
Okay. Yeah, she just had 2 cents. Sure. Ask me them.
There's lots of sharing.
It's real fast. It's not. Well, I didn't know, are we supposed to make 2 cards? Yes.
Two cards, please. One to send to your friends and one for you to use as your person. I just had limited ones. See this? I'll take it off. Who would you like? Somebody can, I guess. Bishop Hamilton. Can I go down?
Here, I'll give this ball.
Yes.
There's Valentin.
Because, oh, yes.
Here's.
Okay, and you get, I love it. So you're creating 2, thank you, David. You're creating 2. One is for you to keep, to remind you of the action that you're gonna take, okay? So you're gonna look at it, put it up where you can see it all the time, and you can be like, yep, that's action I'm taking. And then the other one is for you to send with the letter to your parish priest, maybe your bishop, that says, hey, Catholic Nonviolence Days of Action are happening. Can you please connect with CNI and get involved? So that's why you're making 2.